Will there be a blockchain for a stablecoin in Europe? At least for another country, namely South Korea, it has now become the blockchain for their own stablecoin. Hey, welcome to Crypto Owl. Exciting news about the Avalanche blockchain. And anyone who has been following the price in recent days is probably thinking, what happened here? And there are some news items I want to go through with you, so let's take a look at them now. Let's start with the market update for AVAX in this format. And over the past few days, here we're looking at the daily chart, there's definitely been some solid gains. Let's look at the good days, or rather, let's include the top. If we include the top, we're at about 38% here. So if you round it up and even start down here, we're over 40% since September 10th. That would be the first green day here with this green candle, and then it shot up afterwards. That's not bad at all. So, around 40% in 10 days is quite pleasant for a well-known cryptocurrency that has now established itself and is taking further steps in the form of stablecoin blockchain, or rather, stablecoins on the Avalanche blockchain. Those have been around for a long time, since Avalanche is a well-known blockchain for DeFi and has also been established for quite a while. We'll take a look at the long-term outlook later, but right now this chart actually looks pretty good, and we have to be honest. If you had bought Avalanche at its major low point, around $14 or $15, let's round it up to 15, then that's actually quite decent. If you had then sold at this price here, around 35, you would have more than doubled your money. So we can see that well-known cryptocurrencies can also rise again and come back from obscurity. Do you want to buy cryptocurrencies? Then check out the crypto exchange MEXC. With the link in the video description or my code, you get 10% cashback at MEXC. They have over 1,800 cryptocurrencies listed and currently the lowest fees on the market. We can see that here. Future price, maker price, taker price. They are really extremely cheap and even have a 0% promotion. In the spot section, you can easily buy well over 1,500 cryptocurrencies via spot trading, and in the futures section, you can comfortably trade well over 1,800 cryptocurrencies via futures trading, even with an absolutely crazy 500 times leverage. I wouldn't recommend that, but you can also just trade simply and comfortably here. You can always see here marked as new, how many new ones are being added, and overall it's relaxed trading, even with the low fees. For the small fees you pay, you get 10% cashback. Sign up with MEXC and start your journey on this crypto exchange with the most cryptocurrencies on the market. Yes, the big news that came out here, and the reason the price has risen so much, is that the first stablecoin from South Korea will be launching on Avalanche. And of course, that was an exciting announcement. Many news outlets have reported on it. I think the tweet from Cointelegraph has well over 100,000 views. Here on Avalanche itself, only 80,000 or 86,000. So it's quite exciting. In any case, new capital is now flowing into the Korean, well, to be honest, South Korean digital economy. Specifically, the KRW1, that is the Korean currency KRW with a 1 after it, will first launch here as a pilot phase, but it will be on the Avalanche blockchain. And of course, that's exciting news. I think this is the one from Cointelegraph. Exactly, that's how it looks. And this is how the Korean one will run entirely on the Avalanche blockchain through proof of concept validation. And the whole thing is, of course, extremely exciting when a country issues a stablecoin, especially on an established blockchain, in this case Avalanche, which, as mentioned, is mainly known for DeFi and now also games because the blockchain is fast and relatively inexpensive. That's why it also makes sense that people are dealing with this topic and considering which blockchain should I use for my stablecoin that is secure, fast, and cost efficient. In other words, has low transaction fees. And yes, I can absolutely understand why Avalanche would be chosen for that. And as we know, in Europe, they're also searching for a blockchain. And that's, of course, very exciting. The digital euro is supposed to be launched, and now, according to some news outlets, they are looking for a public blockchain, with Ethereum and Solana being the front runners. To be honest, I'm very curious to see if that will actually happen. Solana is, of course, fast, but it also has downtime, though it's also cost effective. And all of that has its pros and cons. Ethereum, or rather ETH, is expensive when it comes to transaction fees. And if they do use it, it would probably be on a second layer. But I can't imagine the EU would launch a euro stablecoin on a second layer. They'd probably use the main layer. And in my opinion, Avalanche is taking a good approach here, or rather, the South Korean government is taking a very, very good approach with their stablecoin. And that's why I can very well imagine that this could serve as a model. And now, of course, the really exciting question is, could Avalanche also play a role in the euro stablecoin of the ECB, that is, the European Central Bank? That would definitely be huge news. In any case, we can see that the South Korean stablecoin is definitely coming. Staying safe in the crypto market is an important topic, and you're only truly secure with your cryptocurrencies if you keep them on your own hardware wallet, for example, Tangem. I keep recommending it to you again and again. It's really simple and straightforward. No battery, no limited storage capacity. And right now, there's a discount on the ring. A really good discount, I can only recommend it. And here you have the regular Tangem set, just as you know it. There are also a few special offers available in the meantime. There are the new summer colors, which I'm showing here as well. For example, the green one, which looks really, really nice. That's one of the three. Yes, and then there are more offers here. For example, Sundrop, which has a special price, plus the 10%, and the 15% you see only apply to the ring. Yes, and for the ring, $120 is a great price, dear friends. Normally, it costs $160. Very, very important. I've seen this so many times. There's a size chart here where you can check, or rather, I recommend to everyone, you need to know your ring size. My recommendation to everyone, just go to a store or get yourself a ring sizer. Just between us, order one from Amazon and send it back afterwards. No one said anything. In any case, you can easily measure your ring here. It's pretty simple. Just go to a jewelry store, strike up a conversation, measure your ring size, and in the end, you don't actually want to buy anything. You have your ring size, and then you order this Tangem ring for $120. Don't put it off. There are only 10 days left where you can get 15% off the ring. Then you can easily hold the ring up to your smartphone. Let me explain it again. There are antennas inside this ring. And when you have these antennas on your finger, they connect with each other, and then you can hold it up to your smartphone and always have your wallet with you. And no one necessarily knows that it's a wallet, because the ring isn't that well known yet in the crypto scene, or in general, no one really knows about it. They just say, oh, a stylish ring? Yeah. And when you take it off your finger, you can simply scan it with your smartphone. When it's on your finger, the antennas aren't connected, so nothing can be scanned. That's why my tip, the ring currently costs $120. The ring size is very important. And then you can buy this ring at a great discount and always have your cryptocurrency safely on your finger with the right ring size. But that wasn't the only news. As we saw in the chart, if we take another quick look at the daily chart, we can see that there were actually two candles. First, there was the announcement for South Korea, and then there was another announcement just now on the 18th. That was here, up to here is South Korea. And then there was an additional announcement on top. They are launching, or rather, they are a new partner of PayPal for PayPal stablecoin. Yes, PayPal now has its own stablecoin, the PYUSD, that is PYUSD, and it will also be available on the Avalanche blockchain, which is why there is great acceptance for Avalanche. We are seeing this right now with the stablecoin from North Korea and now the stablecoin from PayPal. We can see it here as well. The official announcement actually got even more clicks, and I also thought the chart performance was even better because of it than, in quotation marks, just the stablecoin from South Korea. So the PYUSD, or in this case PYUSD0, to distinguish it since it runs on the Avalanche blockchain, which is EVM compatible. So the Ethereum virtual machine, of course, works here as well. I've always been asked, why do I now say Ethereum instead of Ethereum? A lot of people didn't understand Ethereum because the English term isn't so common in the German community. So that's why you're going to have to get used to Ethereum now. I'm getting used to it too. In any case, the Ethereum virtual machine is also available here on Avalanche's C-chain. That means you have the same address as on the Ethereum network or also on the BNB network. So that's already a big advantage here, but of course there are some differences. That's why PYUSD is 0, just like the Korean cryptocurrency that comes with a 1 at the end. And that's really, really exciting. And not only that, but more stablecoins are being added here as well. Efina Labs is now also moving to Avalanche and launching their stablecoins, the USDE and the SUSDE. There are quite a few with an S. The synthetic stablecoin from Efina is also coming to the Avalanche blockchain. So, in any case, things are happening on the Avalanche blockchain, even if it's just stablecoins for now. But if this blockchain is being used, it's naturally very exciting for node operators who have been involved for a long time or for long-term holders. Staking is becoming lucrative. If more transactions are added here, then staking will very likely be even better rewarded. Staking nodes will have more transactions to validate, and in general, the number of transactions on the blockchain will increase, which will naturally lead to greater awareness of this blockchain. And as I said, Avalanche is actually known as the DeFi chain. At least when it first launched, there was a long list of new DEX. Back then it was just so crazy. So new decentralized exchanges. By now, it's become a bit less, a bit more organized, and it's kind of centralized around a few, but I still want to show you a list. For example, 25 decentralized exchanges or DEX on Avalanche. Here we see them 1-inch yield yak. So there are a lot, and I actually miss some of them. I can really recommend Trader Joey, it's very well known on Avalanche. Otherwise, I really miss a few that I started out with back then, or maybe even got a token as an airdrop from. Some of them don't even exist anymore. So, a lot has changed here on the Avalanche blockchain. It's become a bit more centralized among the DEXs, because, well, centralized. So, users are mainly using certain decentralized exchanges like 1-inch, Trader Joey, and all the others have kind of fallen by the wayside, or rather, those are the ones that are still known and have survived. But we can always see here, by the amount of tokens or blockchains, how much is actually available. 1-inch will probably, it's actually not the biggest anymore. In this case, the biggest one is Rubik. Yes, but that's a Web3 SDK and not necessarily a DEX directly by comparison. But that's also possible there. But we can definitely see that a lot is happening here on the Avalanche blockchain. But Avalanche also has a big problem, and that's its all-time high. And its all-time high is really very far away. Take a look at this. In 2021, they hit an incredible all-time high. All early investors, we recommended the public sale back then in our Telegram group. Back then we had, let me think, we maybe had 200 people in the Telegram group, and then there were problems with the public sale. Then it was postponed. I think it was postponed twice in one day. It was actually supposed to be at around 4 or 5 p.m. Then it was moved to 7 p.m. In the end, it was somehow in the middle of the night at 10 p.m. and then postponed again. Back then, everything was extremely complicated and difficult. It was just a different time. By now, I think it would have been much easier. But what does complicated even mean? It actually wasn't complicated. It was just hard to get onto the server because it was extremely overloaded. Everyone was sitting there. F5, F5, I want to get in. They had to postpone the whole thing because there was too much traffic because the servers were overloaded. Yeah, and in the end it was at night, so probably a few people who had been spamming F5 gave up. And then it actually went through pretty smoothly. And everyone who invested back then was, of course, extremely happy because the Avalanche price was at 50 cents and then hit an all-time high of 146.76 in this case. That's an insane price on the dollar chart in this case. So it definitely paid off for the early investors. Yeah, and of course they cashed out. They made their money and then left. Then, of course, we had the crash in 2022. And now, of course, we can be curious to see how things will continue. Once again, here is the highest price in the last few months. That was in April 2024 at $65, so about half. We can now be very curious. We're still very far from this all-time high. If you look at the current price compared to the all-time high, this cryptocurrency would have to rise by 330%, rounded up. So Avalanche has the big problem that all-time high is very far away and hasn't even come close to being reached again. This, of course, makes it difficult to generate a lot of attention here because old investors will always say, watch out, the all-time high of Avalanche is very far away. For me, it's still very exciting to watch the whole thing because I've always liked the Avalanche blockchain and I think it has a clean logo, a clean appearance, and an interesting color with the red, something that didn't exist like this before. A completely different, new approach. Behind Avalanche with Avalanche, they have a good company that is in a strong position. So here it's a centralized project, if you will, because there is a company behind it, not like Bitcoin or Casper, where basically only a founder is known in this case, but there is no company behind it. But to be completely honest, I think Avalanche will find its way. Will they be able to break the all-time high again? That's a huge question, and it's one I can't really answer. I think if we see a price of $50 here in the next few weeks, everyone will be satisfied. And then, of course, the question is, can this cryptocurrency triple again from $50 to break the all-time high, which is, let's say, up to $150? Of course, that's a very exciting question. I think a lot still needs to happen because the established people on this blockchain will keep running their DeFi. All the tokens that are there, the people who play games, there are 2 or 3 well-known games on the Avalanche blockchain that work well and are very popular. I think they'll just keep playing their games, but they won't invest heavily in Avalanche. The big investors, after this crazy all-time high and the wild ride Avalanche has had, they're simply gone now, and I think many of them won't come back. They've made their money and will be looking for other projects. But we see that Avalanche is following its own path, and a lot could still happen here. Because among the major established blockchains, like for example stablecoins from governments, Avalanche could still be interesting. It's not the most well-known blockchain, but it is one of the better known, established, and affordable blockchains. I'm very curious to see how things will develop. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next video.